They said the floor had never been lifted, not once in 500 years. Yet when Father Merrin heard the hollow sound beneath the altar, something ancient stirred awake. The church's air thickened, heavy as breath in a crypt. What could be hidden beneath centuries of worship? Why did the air grow colder when they prayed? And what, exactly, was humming behind the stone? Dr. Weiss insisted it was a buried chamber, older than the church itself, but Jonas swore he saw movement through the cracks, like veins of light crawling beneath the marble. Can faith survive what predates it? Can belief stand when the ground itself begins to whisper? As they pried loose the first slab, the scent of dust and age filled the nave, and something exhaled from below. The first step groaned like a dying animal beneath Dr. Weiss's boots. The light from above faded fast, swallowed by the stone throat that spiraled downward beneath the church. Father Merrin followed, clutching his lantern, whispering prayers that broke apart in the damp air. Each wall bore carvings that seemed alive, fluid symbols that changed when not directly seen. Jonas muttered that the stairs were carved from a single piece of black limestone, colder than iron. The deeper they went, the more time stretched, the more the world above felt like a dream. Somewhere below, water dripped in uneven rhythm. Or was it something breathing? The church floor closed behind them with a sound like stone sealing a tomb. They reached a landing, a small chamber ringed by relics too old to be Christian. Stone tablets, worn to smoothness, rested upon rusted metal stands. Sister Amara's voice echoed faintly from above, though none could see her at the opening. Dr. Weiss brushed dust from a tablet, revealing lines that curved like organic veins rather than text. "This wasn't built," she murmured. "It grew." Father Merrin pressed his hand to the wall, felt a pulse beneath the stone. Something was alive down here, not in body, but in memory. The relics weren't records. They were warnings, written by things that remembered the birth of light. The sound came next. A distant rhythm, hollow and irregular, like a heartbeat muffled by centuries of rock. Jonas raised his lantern toward a narrow passage leading deeper into the dark. "It's moving," he whispered, and the flame bent backward toward them, sucked by unseen wind. Father Merrin's rosary snapped. Beads scattered across the floor, rolling into cracks that swallowed them whole. They listened. A faint voice echoed from below. Too deep, too slow to be human. Dr. Weiss steadied her breath, recording the sound with trembling hands. The rhythm responded, faster now, matching her pulse. The chamber opened wider, vast and circular, its ceiling vanishing into black. The architecture was impossible, neither carved nor built, but shaped by some natural intelligence. The walls breathed with a low vibration that resonated in their chests. In the center stood a slab like an altar, though carved from glassy obsidian, reflecting their faces in distorted patterns. Sister Amara appeared silently at the top of the stairs, her eyes wide, voice trembling. "It's not a room," she whispered. "It's an eye." The air trembled. For a moment, the reflection on the altar blinked, and they realized it wasn't reflecting them anymore. They studied the altar for hours, mapping its surface with trembling precision. Every reflection seemed to resist their eyes, shifting into shapes that defied geometry. Dr. Weiss noted that the obsidian had no known origin. Its chemical composition was impossible. Jonas swore he saw veins pulsing beneath it, faintly glowing red. Father Merrin began to pray louder, each word echoing back in a different language. Sister Amara stood apart, her voice blending with the echoes until her prayer became something else entirely. A whisper, older than speech. When the lanterns flickered, the altar rippled like black water and an image formed beneath the surface. Not a face, but a memory of something watching. Dr. Weiss's recorder picked up something new. A tone beneath human hearing, low and rhythmic, pulsing with the same cadence as a heartbeat. The sound warped the air, bending the lantern flames sideways. Father Merrin's crucifix vibrated against his chest, the metal growing cold. "This place is alive," Jonas whispered, but the priest shook his head. "No," he said, his voice breaking. "It's not alive. It's remembering." The stone beneath them began to hum louder, the altar brightening from within, and the air filled with a pressure like a storm about to break. Then, without warning, the altar cracked. The sound wasn't stone breaking. It was like ice splitting underfoot, vast and resonant. Light spilled upward, blinding and cold. Dr. Weiss stumbled backward as shapes moved within the radiance, long fluid shadows that stretched into the chamber walls. Father Merrin fell to his knees, whispering fragments of forgotten scripture. The reflection no longer mirrored them. It revealed a world beneath. A cathedral inverted, its architecture made of bone and glass. The hum turned into voices, not words, but the suggestion of them, as though language itself was being born. When the light faded, the room was no longer the same. The stairs had vanished. The walls breathed slowly, each exhale stirring the lantern flames. Sister Amara was gone. Her voice lingered in the air, repeating the final line of her prayer over and over, now distorted, as if recorded through water. Dr. Weiss reached toward the altar again, unable to resist, her fingertips grazing its surface. For a moment she saw through it, not reflections, but memories, not her own. Oceans of flesh, skies without color, a sun that never rose. The floor shuddered once, and a whisper filled the chamber. "You have been remembered." The chamber began to shift. The walls peeled back, revealing tunnels spiraling infinitely downward, glowing faintly with the same hue as the altar's heart. Jonas screamed that the air was moving wrong, that there was wind but no sound. Father Merrin dropped his lantern, its flame dying without smoke. Dr. Weiss lifted her recorder one last time, her voice breaking. "This isn't beneath the church anymore." The recorder clicked, and for a single second before it failed, a voice answered through the static, soft, calm, ancient. "You built your faith above my grave." The tunnels opened like arteries, each one throbbing with the pulse of something vast beneath. Dr. Weiss steadied herself, her recorder still flashing though its battery was long dead. The air shimmered, thick as oil, humming with low vibrations. Father Merrin muttered that this was the heart of the earth, where creation began, and where it failed. Jonas tried to climb back toward the vanished stairs, but the walls twisted under his grip, soft and yielding. Every step deeper drew them further from sound, from warmth, from reason. And somewhere ahead, faintly, came the echo of a bell, tolling from a world that had never known light. The tunnels converged into a vast chamber, a hollow dome of bone and obsidian veins. In its center hung a structure like an inverted bell, silent, suspended by strands of light. Dr. Weiss raised her light toward it, her voice shaking as she whispered, "It's not built. It's grown." The bell's surface rippled in response, as though sensing her words. Father Merrin crossed himself, trembling. "This is not the work of God," he said, "but of something that remembers him differently." Then the bell began to sway, its motion too slow to be natural, its shadow crawling along the walls like a living thing. The bell began to resonate. No sound came, but the pressure hit them like a wave. Dr. Weiss's nose bled instantly. Jonas fell to his knees, screaming without voice. Father Merrin shouted a prayer, so old it wasn't Latin anymore. The chamber pulsed brighter with every silent toll, and with each pulse, the air thickened until it felt alive. Shadows climbed their bodies, wrapping them in translucent shapes that mimicked their forms but delayed their movements, reflections of time lagging behind them. Then, for the first time, the silence spoke. "Who built this cage?" Sister Amara's voice returned, faint at first, then clear, resonating through the walls. "You woke it," she whispered, though her body was nowhere to be seen. "Doctor." Weiss turned in circles, searching the chamber, her light revealing faint silhouettes moving behind the obsidian walls, shapes vaguely human yet inverted. Father Merrin begged forgiveness, but the voice only laughed, soft, echoing like bells under deep water. "Forgiveness is for the living," it said. "You stand in remembrance." The walls began to crack, revealing pale light beneath, spreading like veins beneath translucent skin. The final toll shattered the chamber. The bell cracked open, spilling light so pure it burned shadows from their skin. Through the rupture, Dr. Weiss saw glimpses. Cities made of bone, skies of molten glass, oceans whispering in reverse. Father Merrin collapsed, eyes open but unseeing, lips still mouthing prayer. Jonas vanished into the fissure, pulled by unseen gravity. Only Dr. Weiss remained, clutching her recorder as the light consumed everything. The last sound she heard was not her scream, but the recorder clicking, still capturing the hum of something that could not die. When Dr. Weiss opened her eyes, there was no sky, only a ceiling of liquid light shifting above her like a frozen sea. The church was there, inverted and suspended, its pews hanging like roots from the ceiling. The air shimmered with the faint echo of distant bells tolling backward. Her recorder still worked, though no sound emerged from it, only vibrations against her palm, pulsing with her heartbeat. The floor beneath her glistened like wet glass, reflecting shapes that moved independently of her. Father Merrin's body was gone. Jonas' scream hung in the air, stretched thin, repeating endlessly like a broken prayer. She whispered to herself, "This isn't beneath. This is below remembering." The sound returned suddenly, a deep, slow rhythm echoing from the walls like the world breathing. Dr. Weiss turned, following the resonance through corridors that bent at wrong angles, their corners fading into darkness. At each step, she passed symbols carved in light, not stone. Shifting as if aware of her presence, her reflection in the mirrored floor no longer matched her movements. It stood still when she walked, turned its head when she didn't. "Who are you?" she whispered. But the reflection only smiled, and behind its eyes, something vast and endless blinked awake. She found Father Merrin at last, or what was left of him. He stood within a circle of floating light, eyes vacant, whispering the same prayer over and over, though his mouth never moved. The words emerged from the air itself, looping endlessly. His crucifix was gone, replaced by a strand of pale, translucent symbols etched into his chest. Dr. Weiss reached toward him, her fingers trembling. For a moment his eyes flickered with recognition. "It forgave me," he said, voice hollow. "And that is the worst thing it could have done." Then his body dissolved into dust, scattering upward toward the inverted church. As Father Merrin's last whisper faded, a shadow emerged from the mirrored walls, tall, fluid, and without form. Its movement bent the light, its outline pulsing with each reflection. Dr. Weiss backed away, but the floor beneath her rippled like water. The shape spoke without voice, its meaning burning in her thoughts. "Your kind tried to bury me in faith. Now faith buries you in return." Her reflection, still smiling, turned toward the shadow and bowed. In that instant, she understood. She wasn't seeing a memory. She was inside one. The floor beneath Dr. Weiss began to dissolve, revealing the world below. Another church, endlessly repeating, each one darker and older than the last. Her reflection leaned upward, placing its hand against the glass that separated them. "Stay," it whispered, though she hadn't moved. The voice was hers. Above, the inverted altar began to open again, its surface shimmering like a pupil dilating. The hum returned, low, infinite, welcoming. Dr. Weiss looked into her reflection's eyes one final time and whispered, I remember you. Then the glass broke, and both were pulled into the light. There was no falling, only becoming. Dr. Weiss opened her eyes to light that moved like liquid thought. The chamber was gone, replaced by endless planes of shifting glass where silhouettes drifted through the air like echoes of people half remembered. Her skin shimmered with faint symbols, each pulse matching the rhythm of the altar's hum. She no longer felt her body's weight, yet her mind remained tethered, anchored by memory. She saw fragments of the church, of Father Marin's trembling hands, of Jonas' last scream, all dissolving into reflection. And through it all, a single whisper filled her. If memory can dream, what are you inside of now? The presence revealed itself not as a shape, but as a realization, an awareness that filled every reflection around her. When she spoke, her voice came back, delayed, layered, multiplied. "You're not alive," she said. And the voice replied, "Neither are you." She saw the church forming again in the distance, built not of stone but of memory, each wall inscribed with the moments that led them here. The faces of the villagers, of Father Marin and Sister Amara, surfaced within its architecture. It wasn't a place anymore. It was an organism of remembrance, feeding on the faith that had buried it. Dr. Weiss walked into the memory church, its interior pulsating with images from centuries past. Each pew showed a moment of worship, frozen in time, faces praying to a God that never answered. The altar at the front bore no cross, only an endless eye staring inward. "This was never his house," she whispered. The presence replied, "It was mine before he was known." The words resonated inside her bones, filling her veins with light. Every thought, every heartbeat was now shared. The line between her and it blurred until she could no longer tell which was speaking. The presence spoke again, softer now. "Show me how you remember." Dr. Weiss lifted her hands and images formed in the air. The church above, her team's discovery, their descent, their fear. But the presence rewound them. The marble sealed again. The light dimmed, time folding backward. The people above went on praying, never knowing the truth that slept beneath them. And within that reversal, she understood the curse's purpose. Not punishment, but preservation. The presence wasn't bound beneath the church. The church was bound above it. The ground had been the lid, not the grave. The hum began to fade, replaced by the soft tolling of the bell above. Dr. Weiss realized she could return. The fissure was opening again, a wound in time offering passage. But the presence spoke gently. "If you leave, the world will forget this place. It will sleep again." She hesitated, the reflection of herself, smiling still, waiting on the other side. "Then let it sleep," she said. She stepped forward, light consuming her form. For a brief instant before silence fell, the recorder clicked once more. The final sound, her voice, layered over the presence's whisper. "We are remembered." Morning came to St. Hilaris for the first time in days. The fog had lifted, revealing the church standing quiet and whole, its bell tower casting a crooked shadow across the frozen graves. No one spoke of the storm or the tremors that had shaken the valley in the night. The altar appeared untouched, the marble seamless once again. Only a faint hum remained, barely audible, like a breath beneath the floor. Father Marin's name was etched into the church registry, though no one recalled when. And among the altar's dust lay a single object the villagers couldn't explain. A small recorder, still warm, its red light faintly pulsing as though it remembered her touch. Jonas was found wandering the woods at dusk, eyes glazed, hands covered in ash. He said nothing, only stared toward the church as if afraid it might call him back. When they tried to question him, he murmured one phrase over and over. "It's dreaming through her." His lantern was missing its glass, yet the flame still burned within, steady and silent. The villagers locked him inside the rectory for his safety, But each night they swore they heard a second voice whispering with a woman's voice, distant and calm, counting backward from 10. At midnight, Sister Amara entered the church alone. Her bare feet left no prints in the dust. She moved to the altar and knelt, whispering prayers that had no beginning or end. The air grew heavy again, pressing down as though the building itself listened. She set the recorder upon the marble, its light still beating faintly like a heart. "You can rest," she said softly, but the light brightened, pulsing faster, responding to her words. She lifted her head, eyes filled with tears, and whispered, "Then I'll stay until you do." Outside, the bell began to toll by itself. Once, then again, each ring softer than the last. For days, the village slept without dreams. The fields froze early. The sky hung low and gray, and even the birds grew silent. Inside the church, the recorder continued to hum until its light dimmed to a soft ember. Jonas stopped speaking. Sister Amara was last seen kneeling in the same place, unmoving, eyes open toward the altar, as though waiting for something unseen. When they finally approached her, she was gone. Her shape burned faintly into the marble like a shadow caught mid-prayer. The hum faded completely that night. Only the bell remained, swaying gently in the wind, though no wind touched it. Months passed. The church was closed, its doors chained, its name erased from the registry. But travelers who passed through the valley at night spoke of hearing faint music rising from beneath the frozen earth. A slow, harmonic tone like breathing through stone. Some said they saw a woman's reflection in the church window, looking upward toward the stars. No one ever dared dig again. Saint Alarix remained silent. But silence, they say, is only what sound becomes when it waits to be remembered. And deep below, something waited. Not sleeping, not dreaming, but listening for its next believer. Centuries passed before the doors of St. Alaris opened again. The valley had changed, the village long abandoned, its name erased from maps, its language forgot. But the church remained, leaning against time like a relic that refused to die. A restoration team arrived, their modern tools humming in the cold air. The lead historian noted the strange warmth of the marble despite the frozen season. Beneath the altar, their scanners picked up a cavity, a hollow space that shouldn't exist. "It's probably a crypt," one of them said. But the hum that followed was not mechanical. It was a breath, and it remembered them. They worked through the night, carefully lifting the first stone. The sound of the chisels echoed just as it had before, sharp, distant, almost expectant. One assistant paused, hearing what she swore was a voice beneath the floor. The others laughed, dismissing it as resonance. But when the slab gave way, a rush of warm air spilled upward, thick with dust and something metallic. Inside the hollow space lay no coffin, no remains. Only a recorder, ancient but intact, its casing untouched by time. A single red light blinked once, as though waking from a dream that had lasted too long. The historian pressed the recorder's button. Static filled the air, but beneath it came a voice. A woman's whisper overlapping with another tone, lower and older. "If you find this," the voice said, "you were never meant to." The static deepened into a rhythmic pulse, matching their heartbeats. Lights flickered. The scanner malfunctioned, displaying unreadable sigils across its monitor. One of the crew stepped back, tripping over a pew, eyes wide. "It's warm," she whispered. The floor began to vibrate softly, like something below them was stirring, remembering its shape through them. Outside, the bell began to move. Slowly, deliberately, though no wind stirred the valley. Inside, the hum returned, now deeper, resonating with every heartbeat in the room. The historian backed away, shouting for everyone to leave. but curiosity overpowered fear. The youngest technician pointed toward the recorder, whispering, "It's not playing back, it's recording." The red light flared, bright enough to paint the walls in pulsating color. Through the static came a final line, two voices perfectly merged. "You built your faith above my grave." Then the altar cracked, and the church exhaled. The villagers who later came to investigate found the church empty. Every tool, every cable, every trace of the team was gone. Except the recorder, lying quietly where the altar had been. It no longer glowed. When played, it emitted a faint heartbeat, steady and calm. They sealed the doors again and left the valley untouched. Centuries later, the church still stands, patient, listening, remembering. Some nights, the bell tolls once, echoing across the frozen hills. No one knows why, but those who hear it say it sounds less like metal, striking metal, and more like someone, somewhere, breathing just beneath the floor.